Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to Netflix vs. Cinema, the podcast that tries to find out whether there is actually a fight going on between Netflix and cinema, finds out whether it's pointless or whether we should all just rejoice because guess what? We have so much good stuff to watch now. My name is Tosin and I am joining you fresh off a chase down the motorway from Essex, but I'm joining you from somewhere in the Midlands near Coventry, and joining me on the Isle of Wight are Sharon.
Hello.
And Sean.
Hiya.
How have you guys been doing today?
Drowning.
Yeah, it's been wet today, isn't it? It's just constant all day. It's been a day of it.
Yeah, we are. The Isle of Wight is sinking. I think if I hadn't known better, I would have said someone has pulled the plug out in the middle, and we are slowly sinking underwater.
Does look like
but we are turning into a swamp.
Oh, I don't think it's just the Isle of Wight. I was driving, so as I said, I drove from Essex today, just so rushing back from my parents' place to get here, and I pretty much came out of the car, sat down, and started recording this. And quite frankly, being outside is like walking in a swimming pool. It just feels like what the thing that gets me is like, where is all this water going to go? Where is it going? And I know that there's things about the water cycle and everything like that, but yeah, whatever, it's a bit crazy. But so we have had a bit of a full week of watching things. I think Sharon, you said that due to work getting rained off today, you ended up just watching something.
Yes, Yes, this mornings tend to be errands in our house, and then afternoons tend to be a bit more relaxed. So I did manage to get a film in this afternoon.
Okay.
But that's the only thing I have seen all week.
Well, I know what you have. Okay, we've had another one of those weeks. I have managed to see one thing in the cinema, and that is a bit of an old thing. I managed to see Sonic the Hedgehog because I was like, I need to feed that teenager in me that needs to see this film. That teenager that thought that Sonic and all that kind of stuff. When I remember in the 90s, the Mega Drive, the Sega Mega Drive versus the Super NES wars, and it was all good. Yeah, that was my childhood, and I was like, okay, regardless of what I think this film might be, I need to go watch this film. So I might to see that. And Sean, you once again have managed to be the man who saw everything.
Nearly.
You know, honestly, because I was writing up the title description for last week's podcast, and I actually said it on there, and Sean manages to be, once again, the man who saw everything. And
Yeah.
I so wanted, because that sounds like a classic film title. Like, I'm talking like, the Third Man, sort of like
Yeah,
1950s MGM film title. I still wanted to get...
Incredible Shrinking Man.
Here you go,
Exactly.
Sharon. Quick one for you. Who was starred in The Man Who Loved Cat Dancing?
Oh, I
It's a
don't know.
Western. That was a Burt Reynolds.
I would have guessed Albert Lancaster,
Yeah.
but yeah, one of those.
Sorry, just going off on a tangent.
No, it is your way, Sean.
Which I will talk about later.
It is your way, Sean. And so...
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so I was saying that, and I was like, oh, we should make a poster for that, for Sean, the man who saw everything, and get like a James Bond type theme song. He is the man who saw everything. Because,
Everything there was to see.
yeah, because Sean, that is you. I'm sorry, but
Right, okay.
I
do. I do try sometimes. Although really, it's not that many,
No.
It's just,
No, I mean, yeah, so when you think about it, if you don't watch television, then
yeah, I mean, that's
That's
it.
an
I'm
evening,
not,
isn't it?
I'm not really a big TV fan. And a lot of the time is if I'm over the mainland, I catch films because I don't like, if I visit my mum, I don't like that Saturday voice dance.
all that malarkey, yeah.
So when
I
you,
do-
so essentially
yeah.
you go to have some nice family time. Saturday evening, your mum says, "Do not disturb me," and you're like, "All right, then I'll go to the cinema."
No, it's sort of the other way around. You go, oh, we're going to watch the Voice or something like that, and I go, oh, Mum, there's this film at the cinema that I really want to see. Oh, that's all right then, son. Off you go. So yeah, it's pretty good. I've got your keys, haven't you? Yes, Mum, I've got my keys. I might be in bed when you get back. I said, okay.
Awesome. All right, cool. So what we usually do on this show is that we take usually we put films head to head. We put Netflix and cinema head to head, and we'll have 3 rounds. Or we'll have a film from cinema against something that we saw on Netflix, and we will rate them all out of 5, take an average, and at the end of the show we'll tell you who has won this week, Netflix or cinema. we also have a section at the beginning of the show where we say, okay, there are things that we're not going to put into the head-to-head, be it because somebody else has already seen it and one of us is just going to go see it and has given a report back, or be it that it's something that we're like this week, Sean really, really wants to talk about, but we couldn't find space for it in the head-to-head. So this week, the films we'll be talking about in cinema will be The Invisible Man, Sonic the Hedgehog, and Dark Waters. And on Netflix and Friends side, we'll see Skin, which Sharon saw on Amazon Prime. Hello?
Yep, I did.
Yep. Hunters, which Sean saw on Amazon Prime.
Yep.
And Modern Love, which I saw on Amazon Prime. Okay, forget it. This is Netflix. This is Amazon Prime versus cinema.
It's Amazon this week, then.
Amazon Prime versus cinema. Netflix. I did see BoJack Horseman season 6. But I'm saving that for next week because I definitely want to put that in the head-to-head. All right, so now we will kick off the also runs, and I went to see a film called The Lighthouse, which Sean, you spoke about it last week, and I think the official review of this was actually done by our London correspondent Holly.
Holly, yeah.
Yeah, and I think after I went to see this and I was telling you guys what I had seen this week, I put up on a WhatsApp conversation that I'd seen the Lighthouse, and Sean, you were commenting on my comments on what I said about the Lighthouse.
Yeah.
That's the visual equivalent of that. Huh?
So comment, spill the beans.
It pretty much is. It was like, I've seen the Lighthouse in brackets ... question mark exclamation mark. Okay, so the Lighthouse. I think everything that you and Holly said, I cannot agree with you guys more. I mean, the film. I mean, when the film started off, I was like, "Ooh, my word! I am liking this," because the sound design is awesome. The cinematography is awesome. It honestly looks like a film that was made in a bygone decade. Like, we're talking like, 50s, 60s, like beginning of the 60s kind of. It actually looks like that. Maybe move further back. It looks a little bit like, that's it. The Seventh Seal, Ingmar Bergman.
Oh, yeah, Seventh Seal, yeah.
Yeah, there's bits about this film where if it wasn't for the fact that I recognized the actors, and, if I didn't recognize the actors and I said, oh, this was a film that was made back, in black and white, I would buy it. There's bits about this that
Bergman film.
Yeah. Yeah, and
French New Wave and all that sort of.
Yeah, and I just thought it was really, and I thought it was really engrossing, and then it carried, and you're like, oh, what's going to happen here? But then the longer the film went on, the more that feeling ebbed and went away, and then it felt like the film was just going on a bit too long. And I'm going to be honest that I got bored.
Well, yeah, no, that's okay. I can understand that. I can understand that comment.
I actually got bored, and I got to a point where I was like, okay, cool, just get to the end, which is
get to the end.
I was like, get to the end. Look, we already know. I know this. You know this. You know that it's not going to make any sense. The end is going to come out of nowhere. So just get to the end. Why are you throwing more stuff at the screen? I do think the film's too long. I do think the film's too long, and there's bits of it where it feels like, I'm not sure whether you guys have ever gone to like a student film festival or a student stage production, and they have all these different vignettes and they make all these different short films. It feels almost like a series of short films put together. It's just they just happen to have the same actors in every single short film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I've seen some of those.
Yeah, and the performances are great. It is one of those things. It's one of those things that you have to sit down afterwards and go, hang on a second. Yeah, there were pretty much only 2 people in that film. And while you're watching it, you don't realize that. It's like, while you're watching, it doesn't feel like, oh my God, there's only 2 people here. I need something more or anything. And it does. I totally understand what Holly was saying when she says that, if someone can come and explain this film to me, that would be great. Because there's a whole bunch of stuff in there that may be it may be a cinematic sort of reference to something else. It may just be that somebody had a bad fever dream. It may just be experimental. And I applaud experimental. I think, oh yeah, go ahead, be experimental. But sometimes you have to admit that, hang on, but that just didn't make any sense. So it's one of those films that I feel like I might be the Philistine going, I don't get why everybody's yelling about this and talking about it and giving it 5 stars and saying, oh, one of the films of the year or anything. It's different. That's good, but it's too long. I got bored, and it deteriorates into, okay, I'm not sure any of this makes any sense. It just feels like people are putting stuff on the screen because, oh, that's cool, oh, that's cool, oh, that's cool, and then the film ends. not soon enough. Not soon enough. But but all the same, I would still give it a 3 out of 5.
Cool.
Yeah.
3 out of 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. See? Yeah.
Yeah.
You do that
That's
sometimes.
watchable. Yeah, that's a watchable film. Then, isn't it?
It's certainly an interesting watch, I think. But I think to me, it's probably a film you need to see at the cinema. I would say.
Yeah, because
more so
I
than on
missed
the
it
little
at
screen.
Newport, so I'm waiting for it to come on off the hat.
Never come at Newport. Never came to the island.
Did it not? That might be why.
Well, it's
no,
actually,
but they had a massive. Do you know what's so weird? They had a massive display for it.
Yeah, it's all
outside the thing.
geared up for it, and I thought I must have missed it. It must have been on like twice, and I missed it.
No,
so
it didn't come. It didn't come to
had
the
the
island.
posters everywhere.
They showed it at the Commodore Enterprise.
the thing is,
I saw it when I was over on the mainland. So.
it didn't actually come over here. It wasn't actually over here for a while. But then after the whole Oscars thing, they made a special screening. Odeon did a special screening in a whole bunch of Odeons across the country, where for one night you could watch The Lighthouse. So I went, all right, cool, let's go see it. Let's go see if Sean and Holly were right and all that, and because everybody's raving about this film, let me go see whether. And I just walked out of it going, it's kind of like, when you see something and you feel, okay, that was a student film, but in the worst possible way.
Right. Yeah.
That's what it felt a bit like to me, and I just feel like I'm missing whatever it is everybody is raving about.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting, and the fact that we the ones that have seen it, and it's obviously caused a lot of interest, some perhaps controversy.
Yeah, commentary
and things like that. So obviously, it is one of those films. So
yeah. So it's I would recommend watching it, but be warned, it's not the kind of film that you're going to walk away going, oh yeah, that was a story that I totally got what was going on. I feel like it's the kind of film you're going to walk away and you're going to try really hard and you're going to grasp really hard, and then you're all going to come up with different examples or different possibilities of what that meant. It's I feel like the film Mother that we spoke about a couple of years ago.
Yeah, which I really liked.
Yeah, I really like Mother. True. This holds together a lot less than Mother does. I feel like story wise, I'm like, okay, what's going on? Okay, because if it might just be as simple as it's a descent into madness, and then if it's just a descent into madness, I'm not entirely sure that that's interesting. So it's So anyway, but that was me. But as I said, I'll still give it a 3 out of 5. I think it's brilliantly shot, brilliantly acted, great atmosphere around it. I'm just not sure that it's being put to a worthy end. But anyway, now Sean, you said you saw something this week that you wanted to talk about. Really.
I did.
And so
I did.
Before we get to the head-to-heads.
Yeah, before we get to the head-to-head, yes. Okay, so I watched a movie. I got really interested in it. It was called Going Clear, Scientology and the Prison of Belief. 2015 movie or documentary. Mm-hmm. It went to Cannes and apparently got a couple of awards and stuff. Now the reason I watched this is because I think I might have said to you before, but once I did I took some some students in a minibus to East Grinstead for a netball tournament, and I had to park the bus. They said, "Oh, you can park the bus down there." And as I walked past, there was this massive, huge monster, like castle building with ramparts, and it was the home of the main base of Scientology. And I actually went in there. I thought, "Well, this is interesting. I'm going to go in and have a look." And it was quite interesting. And this really good-looking young girl comes down and says, "Oh, I'll show you around if you like." And
that's how they get you.
That's how they get you. And I noticed there was and they said, "Oh, do you want to do this? They call it auditing, where you hold things."
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so I mean, I wasn't particularly interested, but I just found it really amusing. I thought, yeah, I know what this is. It's just the money grabbing thing. Anyway, so I watched this, and this is a film where you've got like 4 high-ranking, or got right up to the level that have said they're actually poo-pooing the whole thing and saying how it all works, and then it goes into the history. Now, the thing is, with religions in America under the First Amendment, they're tax-free. Right? Yeah. So, and the IRS, one of the Scientologist doctrine is if someone attacks you, or someone, what do they call them? Subversive people.
Oh yeah.
You have to go for them. You have to attack them. That's like you really find out everything about. Anyway, so the IRS go after the Scientology one. So they get all these loads and loads of people to sue the IRS and sue all the people individually. They're getting people to do all these lawsuits. And in the end, the IRS says, well, okay, we recognise you as a religion, so you're tax exempt, right? And it's like, whoa, okay. So, and then it's about how it gets bigger and bigger. And they basically start off, and it's a really, really good thing. But as you get higher up the levels, you go clear. This is where this going clear is. You get rid of all your...
Oh, yeah.
I won't go into the Scientology thing. Anyway,
yeah.
Basically, it's the story there, and they say they've got their Tom Cruise and John Travolta as their front men. Yeah. Basically, with this Tom Cruise, when he got offered Nicole Kidman, he's sort of saying that Nicole Kidman's dad was a really, really like super top psychologist like that. And so Nicole Kidman was a subversive. So they did everything they could to break him, Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman up, you know, like bugging the phones and being horrible and all that. So that, and then with Tom Cruise, and they sort of treated, and John Travolta, they treat them like lords, you know what I mean? They give them all stuff, and sort of, because they're the front men of this organisation. Yeah. And there's all sorts of really, really nasty stuff that goes on.
Mm-hmm.
And
so these whistleblowers, are they former Scientologists?
Yeah, they're former Scientologists.
So they're the ones who have come out of the movement.
But they're getting loads of hassles and they've shown bits where like people turn up at their houses and saying, oh, you know, you're horrible and we're going to sue you and you're going to go bankrupt.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating documentary. And apparently when you go up these levels at the Church of Scientology, you get to look at the whatever level it is, which is writings by Ron Hubbard, which are still handwritten.
Yeah, L. Ron Hubbard, yeah.
People being frozen, spacecrafts coming down, freezing people, dropping in volcanoes. It's just like, and the thing is with this, I know the Scientologists probably try to discredit them, but it's such a good movie that, it was fantastic, really. I mean, I really, really liked this film. Or documentary as it was.
Do you feel you've got a better understanding of Scientology?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I knew about it before when I knew Ron Hubbard's Dianetics.
Ron Hubbard and all that.
Yeah, I didn't know how it had become so big, and was basically the accounts-wise, they're like they have so much land. And you know, it's a cult. Started off as a book called Dianetics, and then because it was losing the start with Scientology, they sued the IRS until they pressured the IRS so it could be recognised as a religion.
Yeah,
because religions it's tax exempt. So everybody has to pay all this money. And basically they've got this thing called the C Corps or something like that, which get paid 40 cents an hour for like scrubbing deck. And if you're bad, you get sent to this place in the hole where you have to do really, really bad things. Crazy. But they say that but even these people were saying they sort of accepted the fact. It was really weird, but you know, basically brainwashing. And when they do this auditing, which is where you hold the things and you say all the stuff.
Yeah.
If you get bad, they've got all this stuff against you because everything's written down, everything's recorded. So, oh, you know what I mean. So, yeah, it's great. You need to see it. It's just
because
yes.
Through the years there have been a couple of different documentaries made about Scientology. I know that there was one that a BBC reporter made.
BBC, yeah. They mentioned that in the film.
Yeah,
about Astor.
That he made, and because Scientology is what's the word, famously secretive, so they never come out and rebuff anything. They never come out and do no, this is actually what Scientology is thing. And I would say most of the things that you hear about it are, let me be honest, overwhelmingly negative. Saying overwhelmingly,
I mean, except for the people that are in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So for the people but I know there was one. There's an actress called Leah Remini who was in King of Queens, and she has a documentary that's like, you know, Leah Remini escaping Scientology. How she was in it, and she comes out, and everything that everybody says about it is just like, this is not a good thing. But
no.
So the second I hear Scientology documentary, I'm kind of thinking, it sounds like it might be the same thing all over again, and just sort of saying, yeah, bad.
No, this is slightly different because this is really top people in the top slots in the corporation, actually. So, you know, I mean, and they admit that they did some really bad things themselves, you know, and there's lots of photo evidence of them dressed up in the you know, like really going to people, because he was like one of them was like a lawyer, you know, and he would fight all the causes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so it's basically these were, you know, I don't know, Paul Haggis and Jason. It was 5 of them, 5 of these people that they've got to get, and they're all talking out against it. So
yeah.
Oh well. Okay, cool.
It's well worth a watch. Seriously, it's well worth a watch. I mean, if I was going to put this up against something, I'd give it a 4.
All right.
I was going to put it up if I was going to put it up against, because I mean, even if you're not, it's just so interesting.
Yeah.
And with you guys, I think you would find it really, really interesting.
Oh yeah.
I really do.
Yeah. Okay. You say with you guys because Sharon and I both profess to have a belief in in Christianity.
No, I mean, I'm not saying it. No.
No.
Bad, but I mean, no. But I mean, just to see it, because it is really interesting to give you an insight.
Well, I don't think any belief, if it's beyond scrutiny, then it's something wrong there.
It's dodged.
Every system it should be up for scrutiny. I mean, it may be the fact that it's not provable, but you should still be able to scrutinise. And I think the fact that it's so secretive makes you think.
It's a bit dodgy.
Why are you so secretive?
Yeah. That's it.
Because I mean, as any Christian will tell you, you get everything flying at you over the years. So you think there's nothing. There's nothing that people can't ask or don't ask.
That's it. But I mean, as Christians, would you watch this or would you not? Just purely. I mean,
I might watch it as a sort of intellectual exercise. So I think that'd be interesting.
To watch,
but I certainly wouldn't compare it.
No. I'm not on about comparing this. I'm not on about comparing this. I'm just saying that it's really, really interesting to actually see what a science fiction writer
but to be
and how people can be influenced.
To be honest with you, Sean, I mean there is. I will admit at one point in my life that if there was anything that was going to make any sort of belief system that I didn't hold look bad, I'll totally be there. I'll be watching it. I'll be taking notes. I'll be like, oh yeah, I can use this again. Yeah. Look at you. Oh yeah, you're terrible, but I'm fine. So I think so. Now I don't think I would watch it because I'm trying to find something to make them look bad. I think I would watch it because I'm just trying. I think over the years I've just become more and more interested in people and why people do certain stuff, especially stuff that you would look at and you would think from the outside. Hang on a second.
But the thing is,
that doesn't make any sense.
How they work. The thing is how they work to get recognised as a religion, so they wouldn't have to pay income tax.
I would find that interesting. But I would also find it interesting about what is it that draws people in.
Yeah.
What need do they meet that people will accept things that on the surface of it would sound nuts? If you said to someone that we're going to make you sort of do all this menial work to start off with, and then we're going to build you up so that it's like, what are they selling these people? That makes them that is so they want so much that they will do all these things.
Yeah,
on the hope that they'll become one of those elect, rather than being one of the many.
Oh, Sharon, you just put an idea in my head. I'm just like, wait until I make my great documentary about Nigerian churches. Because it doesn't sound far from that, and but if you get me starting talking about Nigerian churches, we'll be here a while, and that is something I'm planning for another podcast series. Podcast series.
We could do that. That would be a good podcast. Interesting.
Oh no, I'm already lining it up. I'm lining up people who are currently in Nigerian churches, all that kind of stuff to say, okay, good. These are all the problems I have. And these are all the things I think that do not make sense. Why on earth are you doing this? And
I have to say, on that note, I haven't had many experiences with Nigerian preachers, but I did meet one once, and I have to say it's the only church service I've walked out of.
Wow. Was it gospel-y or?
It was, to me, I didn't think he was biblical, so I wanted to challenge him, and I couldn't because it's the wrong forum. So I thought, if I can't challenge you biblically, then I'm going to. So I must admit, I up and left, and he didn't like it. I had the eyes on me the whole way down the room, but I got up and I left.
Sean, I'm gonna tell you something, right? Okay, speaking to you as the kind of person who walked into Scientology place just to see what the heck was going on, I think you would have an absolute ball in a Nigerian church, in a stereotypical.
I've chosen. I have been. Because I find religion so fantastic. I've been to a Kingdom Hall. I've been to a Mormon Tabernacle. Just down here.
Yeah.
I got invited to. I've been seeing Seventh-day Adventists, Anabaptists.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating. When I was in Australia, I got invited to. I guess it would be charismatics.
Yeah.
But it's just. I just find it such an interesting thing, and what I find interesting about it is they're all like say, oh no, well, we're right,
Yeah.
we're right. And there's all different things, and they're basically all the same. They believe in God, they believe in Jesus, but this bit of Jesus. Like, I used to like Calvinist Mark.
Yeah.
I used to Calvinism, and I'm like,
sure.
You're telling me that there's like, anyway, no, we're on a film podcast. It's just a fascinating subject for me. Anything like that, it's fascinating.
Sure, I think you hit the nail on the head. But as I said, we're getting into the other podcast series that I'm hoping to start.
We are, yeah.
But you hit the nail on the head when you said it's like, oh yeah, we all believe but just this bit of Jesus. This bit is really important. Yeah. But anyway,
we'll drop that. Sorry,
we'll drop that. We'll move on. I'd agree with you. But Sean, if you ever find a redeemed church, and the kind of church that Sharon was just talking about,
That's a Nigerian one, yeah.
It's not. Yeah, it's a Nigerian one, but it's a specific type of Nigerian one, and I would wager almost like 90% that was a redeemed church that you were in, Sharon. I would 90% that was a redeemed church. But anyway, let's get into the actual films that we're going to review this week. So the big one that we're going to kick off with is The Invisible Man. Now, this is an update. Well, when you hear that, first of all, a lot of people are going to be like, whoa, Invisible Man, I've heard that before. You start thinking H.G. Wells, and you might wonder, why on earth hasn't Sharon seen this? Because obviously this is a literary adaptation, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's World Book Day, yes, of course. I would, yeah.
But it is, but it isn't actually a literary adaptation. This is a film that is getting a lot of buzz. And Sean, I am so interested to see what you think. But if I may give let me give a recap of the story, and then you let me know if I'm right or not. So it stars Elizabeth Moss, who is somebody
who is a Scientologist, by the way.
Is she?
Is she?
Yes.
Oh wow. I never knew that. There you go. It's strange. Good connections. Wow.
Oh wow. There you
go.
That has put her in a totally different light. But anyway, I love her as an actress. So it stars Elizabeth Moss, who is, I think at the beginning of the film when you meet her, she is in a relationship with a sort of tech billionaire. I think sort of like tech entrepreneur. And she is, but it's an abusive relationship. So she escapes, gets out of the relationship. The thing comes down, they say that the guy is dead. The guy died, and she's thinking, oh, I'm finally free. But then it starts seeming as if he isn't actually dead, and that there's something going on, and stuff starts happening in her life, where it seems like this guy has found a way of making himself invisible and is stalking her. But obviously nobody believes her. Is that generally the premise of the film?
That's generally the premise of the film, Toes. You pretty much nailed it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that being said, I am fascinated to see, because there's some things that a lot of people have been saying about this film, and I want to see whether you end up saying the same things or you end up picking up the same things about this film. So what did you think about The Invisible Man?
Okay, the whole story. Okay, so I started out, I thought, really interesting premise, and he is a billionaire. He's into optics, so optics are quite interesting things. That's where he's made his money. Now, let me just think about this a little bit. So it starts off, I thought, oh, this is interesting, this is good. I like the concept, I like the ideas, but then, oh, I'm so sorry. It's just like, this could have been something really, really good that I would have enjoyed, but it's just, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to be sort of spoilerific, but let's just say that, I mean, I don't know if any of you guys have ever had paint over you, but, like had paint or got paint on you or something like that.
I've had some paint, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, if you've got covered in paint, and it can sort of be cleaned in, shall we say, a minute. Do you know what I mean?
If you've got the right solvent to clean with,
yeah. But if you've only got water, it's So, and also there's another bit where, and I'm sorry, I'm going to have to put the spoiler in because I'm sure people pick up. Okay. So spoiler alert here.
Okay, spoiler alert. But Sean, essentially, is this one of these films that you end up having go on a crusade about things that logically do not make sense?
Yes, basically. Basically, I mean, it's good. Don't get me wrong; it's well acted, and she is great.
Yeah,
it's really. You could put her down if you was to see her. She played a neurotic woman who's just like nobody would believe because she looks. The makeup's absolutely excellent, and they're like, get out of here, something like that. And she's explaining, and then sort of stuff happens. If you let's just say someone somewhere, you're on foot, and another person's in a car and drives 40 miles.
Yep.
It's going to take someone on foot a hell of a lot longer to get 40 miles than it is in a car.
Okay, all right. So
how did you get there?
How did you get there?
So you have you have the problem with logical inconsistencies in
logic. That's it. Tosin, you nailed it. Logical inconsistencies, and also this is the bit that I meant just. But sometimes, like if something happens, something gets damaged, you got like a phasey in and out. But there's hundreds of people. But the only time it phases in is when it's with a woman, and then all the other people are there, and it miraculously. They still can't see.
Okay, all right, okay. So
I know I'm sounding confusing, and it sounds confusing. So
it wasn't logical.
It was totally like
so. Whatever rules it sets for itself, it didn't follow its own rules.
Okay, so what I'm going to say is right. Okay, let's just say something gets damaged, so you get like a glitch, a bit like.
Okay, so I think it's no because even if you watch the trailers for this film, it's no surprise or it's no secret that what you actually have in this film is that he's built himself a suit because he's into optics and he's built himself a suit. So you're saying that essentially when you have a suit on, the same way having like an Iron Man film or something like that, and then sometimes it malfunctions.
But let's say the suit gets damaged, so occasionally it phases in and you can actually see the suit. So it's like blinking. It's like blinking.
Yeah.
But
so no one else can see it.
But no one else sees it blinking except when. Do you know what I mean? They can't.
So even though you'd think, what's that flicker in the corner of your eye? No one sees that.
Yeah. So incredibly lucky. I mean, loads and loads of inconsistencies in this. I thought it could have been a good film. I mean, I'm not knocking it because I think the acting was great, but it's just that those few little moments where I'm like, that's a bit lucky. Lucky things happen. And
right. So how many stars would you give it?
Me, I would probably give it a 3-star for the acting. I mean, it's not like horrific.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really, really good premise. And I think the suit idea was spot on. And I could see something like that happening. But I just was like, how the hell did you get there that fast when you were like hundreds of miles away?
Yeah.
How the hell did that happen? How did you get there just at the right time?
Oh, all right.
It's someone. That's just you don't know where someone's going, do you? If you're gonna, and they just happen to know where they're going.
Okay.
What? I mean, if you were going somewhere, Sharon, right? Just say, for instance, now we left here. Sorry to do this, Coach. Sorry, there was something there, and you said, right, I'm going, or you were running away from me. I'm not going to know. And you get in your car and you drive off somewhere. I'm not going to know where you're gone.
No.
But
because I may not necessarily go straight.
But then if I turn up, I mean, that'd be weird, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'm sort of trying to say.
Yeah. But if he's invisible, he could have been in the backseat the whole time. But never mind. Okay, but
possibly.
So Sean, now this is the thing that because a lot of the stuff that has been said about this film has been said it's becoming part of a conversation in a way that if I'm going to be honest, I did not expect you to connect with this bit of the film at all. And so a lot of the stuff has been said that it's almost kind of like an allegory for abusive relationships, which is something that obviously with Harvey Weinstein just going to jail recently and all that kind of stuff is in the news at the moment, is in the public consciousness when people talk about abusive relationships, all that sort of stuff. Is that something that you looked at the film, or even if you look at the film now and you can sort of pick up on, like the fact that I
probably didn't. I've got to be honest. I probably didn't pick it up as an allegory, but I can see why now when you're saying it. Yeah, it's a Me Too thing. But I was really chuffed with myself that I knew exactly who was what and who was who, and there's some couple of twists, strange reveal. And I mean, the joy about this was I went to see it with a couple of friends, and I said, "There's one bit," and I said, "That is that person." They went, and it sort of is that person. There you go. So I was really chuffed with myself for things like that, and I sort of could tell where it was going.
Okay.
I sort of could so it was for me it was a predictable film as well. So.
Yeah. Okay.
But
cool.
as I say, she was the actress was that
Elizabeth Moss.
Elizabeth Moss was spot on. She was really, really. I thought she was excellent.
She's pretty much.
Which is why I've given it the 3.
Yeah, she's very good. She's very good in *Handmaid's Tale* and *Top of the Lake* and things like that. So she's
she
knows her stuff.
She's really good. And but imagine that. Imagine the coincidence that the man who saw everything could spot all the movie tropes. Oh my word!
All the movie tropes. Yeah. I know. There you go. See.
All right, cool. Oh, okay. Good. Thank you very much. And that's 3 stars for The Invisible Man. And now we go over to, obviously, Amazon Prime, because Amazon Prime has sort of like drop-kicked Netflix off the show this week. And this is the film that Sharon, you said you saw earlier today, and this was Skin. So tell us a little bit about Skin.
Well, Skin is the story of a white supremacist, played by Jamie Bell, who is covered in these facial tattoos, covered in a lot of these sort of gang markings almost, that all sort of have a language of their own.
Yeah.
And he is part of this sort of white supremacist gang. And we learn his story that basically he has been adopted he was like a homeless child, the child of abusive parents. And he basically was on his own from a very young age. And he was taken in by this couple who gave him love and affection and belonging. And from a very early age, they groomed him to be this sort of skinhead. Yeah. And they gave him his very first tattoo, and his first tattoo was on his face.
Oh, wow.
And then as the years went by, he's had these more and more tattoos added to his face. So he's like a mask. It's covered in these sort of, almost like neo-Nazi imagery. And so, you see him in this world where he is he's respected, he's feared, he's part of this family, and then he sort of gets in this sort of race confrontation where he mutilates a young black boy, where he cuts a swastika on his face.
Oh, good.
And this sort of seems to be like the turning point in his life, and then he meets this woman who's got young children, and he basically takes a step back, and he sort of starts to see his life, that it's not the ideal. And as he sees another sort of young homeless boy sort of taken in and start to be groomed, I think he starts to see that disconnect between actually, this is not what it's supposed to be. This is not a home. This is not a loving environment. I'm here because I'm made to do here, and there's an expectation that if you belong, you have to do things.
Yeah.
And the woman he meets saying, family isn't about doing stuff. You don't have to do something to become a family. It's not about what you can do for them. They're just your family.
Yeah.
And he meets this guy who runs an organisation that helps to deprogram white supremacists. He's a black man who has this organisation that confronts, but not in a violent way, people in the sort of KKK and people in these white supremacist groups. This particular group, they call themselves Vikings, and they call themselves, the Nordic whatever, because they sort of draw upon that Northern European ancestry.
Yeah. And
so so you see this through, and part of the process of his rehabilitation is he decides, when he decides to leave the gang, he's going to get some of his facial tattoos removed. And the man who is organising this sort of withdrawal group basically has got funds where they can help people who've got facial tattoos get those sort of gang markers removed, so they can then start going back into normal life. And it's based on a true story. It's very powerfully played by all the actors, because you think there's nothing more repugnant really than to most people than the white supremacist gangs, where they're covered in Nazi tattoos, or they're covered in these gang tattoos, and you look at them and you think, ugh.
Yeah.
So Jamie Bell does do quite a good job in actually humanising him, and the guy who plays the guy who helps him, I can't see his name on the list here, and he sees beyond the tattoos, he sees beyond this hatred, and he says, you don't reach people through hatred, through sort of aggression, through violence. You have to find a way of drawing them out.
Yeah.
And so he uses this, these contacts he makes to draw these men, primarily these young white men, out of this sort of destructive, violent environment. And you see at the end of the film, there's this sort of montage of the real guy, and at each stage of these tattoo removals, they've taken a photograph of him, and you see him, this tattooed monster, really, and then you see the man emerging it took over 2 years to get these tattoos removed from his face.
Oh, wow.
Is it American?
It's American, yeah. And then you see him, this sort of man emerging, and now they work together. These two men work together, trying to sort of deprogram almost these other people in these gangs to say, look, actually, because someone has got covered in these tattoos and they may look like they're completely irredeemable, they're not beyond reach, they're not beyond hope, and they can be sort of saved. And so this was about, I think, a film about redemption in many ways. So that did sort of appeal to me.
Yeah, so I was about to say that with that, it's ticking a lot of your boxes.
Yeah, so I've seen films like American History X, and I've seen films. I'm trying to think what the other ones I've seen.
You took the words right off my mouth. I was just about to ask you about. I was just about to mention. So American History X.
Yeah, so I have seen all those, and again, they're sort of about. And I've seen Rob Stomper. But this one, I think, sort of goes to that more where this is more where I live, in that it deals with like this whole redemptive process of how someone who is, seemingly, would be untouchable. You'd think if anyone was going to come out of the gangs, it would not be this guy. But it does, and he does come out, and he finds a place for himself outside of this environment. But you can understand how, that we're looking at the Scientology thing, what makes people draw into it. You can understand why he ended up in that home, because they gave him something that he didn't have.
Yeah. And what did they say when he wanted to come out? How did the other people?
He was shot. He was beaten up.
Right,
His children were threatened. His family was threatened. He had to go into hiding, and they did everything they possibly could. But he did actually turn state's or whatever they call it over there.
Yeah.
And he actually cooperated with the FBI, and a lot of them were arrested. But yeah, they were violent, and they're not very nice people. And there's people sort of along, your family don't expect you to do stuff to belong. And if they're asking you to do things to belong, like burn down a mosque or like beat up a black teenager, that's not family. And I think it only took something like that simple almost for him to wake up to himself. So I really enjoyed it. So I would actually, it's very swearing, it's very violent, it's quite uncomfortable viewing. It's not a film I would sort of, say is a Sunday afternoon film. But I really enjoyed it, and I thought it had it had value. So I would give it actually a 4.
A 4, good stuff.
That's a score, yeah.
So I've got to ask,
you've got to sort of go, Winston.
So is this one of these films that does it try to absolve him of the things he's done?
No.
Okay, all right, good.
I don't think, no, it shows you that he is a man who will draw a knife for someone, who did stab someone, who did mutilate a young teenage boy.
Okay.
And you see him with all the front, and I think he doesn't try to deny his past. And he when he looks at himself in the mirror and he sees all this, you almost get the feeling that it's sort of like what he's done to his face is almost like Dorian Gray. It's like he's becomes a walking portrait of Dorian Gray, as opposed to being hidden. All his sins are showing on his face. He's like painted them on himself. So it's like the reverse of Dorian Gray in many ways.
Oh,
so
wow.
I, just to use my literary next, but that's the way I thought of it. I thought, instead of his hiding his sins, all his sins are written plain all over him in black ink.
Sharon, two things.
Like notches on a gun barrel.
Yeah.
So Sharon, 2 things. Number 1, deep. And number 2, it's like, well done to you. Like on World Book Day, getting the literary thing in there, just weaving it in like it's no big deal. So, okay, and I'm guessing also, especially after last week where I spoke about greed, and I spoke about a film that sort of like, shows like, we know there's problems, give us a bit of a solution. I guess I can't really begrudge a film that tries to show you that, hey, this might not be the solution, but it was a solution. So,
yes.
All right, cool, good stuff. And now we move on to going back to cinema, and we are going to talk Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, as I said, okay, I had to, essentially, I am a child, okay, I was born in the 80s, but that means I was a teenager in the 90s. And in the teenager in the 90s, video games. That's when video games nowadays are massive business. They are so big that they think that the video game industry actually makes more money than movies. But at the beginning of this, where you had like, your Ataris and all that kind of stuff, and then you had 2 big companies, and that was Nintendo and Sega. Sega made the Mega Drive, and so everybody knows of Mario, the plumber, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even I've heard of that one.
Yeah. So Nintendo.
Oh,
exactly.
Hello,
it's me, Mario. Yeah. So Mario was Nintendo, and Sega had Sonic the Hedgehog. He was their main one. He was the big guy. He was, every time there was a Sonic game released, it was big. And Sega had ended up having some problems, and I think they've been bought by a couple of different people, and then the games, they don't really exist as a console maker anymore, but people still use the Sega name to make games. And now they've gone into movie making, and they came up with this, and this is Sonic the Hedgehog, which is and this is a film that you might have heard about this a couple of months ago, sometime in 2019. They released the first trailer for Sonic the Hedgehog, and the internet blew up. The internet went crazy, going, "What the hell do you think you've done? He looks weird. He doesn't look right." And they had changed. To be honest with you, first of all, I've got to be honest with you. I thought he looked a bit weird. He looked like a man wearing a blue hedgehog costume, and the opera was so big and so loud that the director said, "Okay, we've heard you," and the studio went, "We can't release this film because it's just going to be horrible." So they went back, took a couple of months, and they redid the entire film and redesigned Sonic from the ground up to make him look a lot more like his video game counterparts. Then they released a second trailer, and everybody was like, "Oh, well done! Oh my god, this is great! Yeah, he looks like Sonic!" And all the while this was going on, I was like, it doesn't matter, the film's still going to be rubbish. Because I was like, the film's still going to, whether he looks like Sonic, whether he looks like something, the film is still going to be rubbish. And the main reason for it is, remember when I caught a little bit of Godzilla, King of Monsters on TV earlier today?
Yeah.
I caught a little bit of it, and I only caught maybe about 10 minutes or something like that. But it was the bit where the King Ghidorah and Godzilla have a fight, where King Ghidorah first shows up. And there's bits of it, and I can totally see what you were talking about the film, where there's bits of where you're like, oh, that is actually beautiful. That is a beautiful shot. Like, there's this shot where they have King Ghidorah still in ice, and all the humans are standing in ice in front of, like, this claw that you can just see through the ice. And I'm like, that is a beautiful shot. But I remember saying that film was going to be ruined by the humans, because they're going to focus on the humans, and we don't need the humans. We just need these monsters fighting each other. We get rid of the humans.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what I said about Sonic, because Sonic, in the video game of Sonic, there isn't really any human. You have Dr. Robotnik, who's the bad guy, but there isn't really any human. It's Sonic running around, and it's like this hedgehog running around and hitting all these weird other creatures and all. But the trailers made it clear that, oh, no, we can't do that. We can't make a film about that. So we brought Sonic into the real world. And I smacked my head, and I was like, why on earth have they done this? So even when they changed the design of Sonic, I was like, it doesn't matter. The film is still going to be terrible. Why on earth are people like looking as if this is like a redemption? So I went to watch this film with, like, you know, like expectations in the toilet. My expectations were, I was just kind of like, I was like, look, I have to do right by the 14-year-old me, and I have to go watch this film, because 14-year-old me will be like, what? There's a Sonic movie, I'm not watching it. You've got to go watch that thing. And I've got to say, this film has no right to be as good as it is. This,
well,
yeah,
not expecting that, Tenzin.
I know this.
Mind you, people said that about Pikachu, didn't they? And a lot of people
Detective Pikachu, yeah,
Detective Pikachu,
Detective Pikachu, yeah. Well, the Detective Pikachu had more going for it, quite frankly. But it's because the whole idea is that with Pikachu, with Pokemon, they do hang around besides humans, so that makes sense. But so this film, sure enough, they've come up with a weird story that they've tried to put around the whole thing, and if you think too much about the story, it's just a lot of fun. This film is a lot of fun. Ben Schwartz, who plays Sonic, he gets it spot on. It's just sort of like Sonic is precocious without being annoying, if you get what I mean. James Marsden, is brilliant in this film in what could be almost a thankless task. There's a whole bunch of things like Tika Sumpter plays James Marsden's wife, and she really doesn't really get much to do. But I think
would you have need to play the game to enjoy it more than?
Heck no.
Because I know nothing apart from the actual creature and rings. I don't know nothing about Sonic at all. So would you need to know it? It's like that Breaking Bad thing you reviewed about, or someone
El
reviewed
Camino.
Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I remember.
And I hadn't bothered to watch that because I'd never seen Breaking Bad. So people said, "Well, you need to see Breaking Bad." Do you need to know Sonic the Hedgehog game to enjoy
you don't need to know anything about Sonic the Hedgehog. This is as far removed from the game as it's possible. It's about as far removed from the game as you can and still call it Sonic, because there's a little bit at the beginning where they show you he says, "This is where I live," and what they show you is pretty much the first level of the video game, of the original Sonic video game, and seeing that on screen, the 14-year-old in me did jump, I have to admit, and go, oh my god, look at that, that is so cool. Even though I never really played Sonic, I recognized that. I was like, that is the first level of Sonic. And I like what they've done, because Sonic, he collects rings, like Mario collects coins, Sonic collects rings. And I like what they've done with the rings and how they've tried to sort of make the rings into a sort of story. They've managed to pull something together that one of my friends there's three of us who grew up in Nigeria who were into video games around about the same time. And Benga, he said, he was like, it was actually fun. He said he had a lot of fun. And I have to admit, the film is a lot of fun. It is not... It's probably going to do well enough to get a sequel. And there is sequel baited in there. And I have to say about Jim Carrey, this is Jim Carrey on crazy form that he hasn't been in a while. And some people like that. Some people absolutely hate that. I personally really, really like it. I thought for the character of Dr. Robotnik, Jim Carrey was spot on. Now, you might notice I'm not saying much about the storyline of the film because it is inconsequential. The storyline of the film is...
You've got a blue hedgehog running around. You don't need a story for that.
Exactly. There's a blue hedgehog running around. Somehow he's on Earth. Stuff happens, whatever. But it's like, but yeah, this film is a lot more fun than it has any rights to be. I'm sorry, because everything in the run up to this film told me that this is going bad. This film has everything going against it, and I was actually really, really pleased to see that. Maybe something has meant to shut up the cynic in me, because I was really beginning to worry I was getting way too cynical for my own good. But having said that, I would give it a 3. It's a fun 3. If you have any kids, you want to go watch it, take them with you. But it's good. Right, and now we go back over to Amazon Prime, who, as we said, have dropkicked Netflix off the show this week. And this is the big Amazon Prime sort of thing this week that they're pushing a lot, especially ever since, like, Al Pacino. I'm not sure whether they planned this ages ago or anything like, but Al Pacino gets nominated for Best Supporting Actor Oscar for The Irishman, and pretty much immediately after the Oscars, this thing, people were like, oh my god, there's this new thing, it's called Hunters, Al Pacino's going to be in it, it's going to be on Amazon Prime. And so, Sean, from what I can gather, and from some of the controversy that has been about this TV show, this is about people in sort of like modern day people who are hunting Nazis who have managed to escape persecution from the Second World War, or something like that.
Yeah, basically there was this after the war, and it's a bit of fact in this, isn't there? Because they needed like Warner von Braun and all those people for the space rockets. They wanted them for the space rockets. Yeah. And there was this thing called paperclip, which I think they must have. The people who made this must have done some research where leading Nazis were brought over, and it was sort of all covered up, given new identities and all stuff like that. Oh,
because of the scientific thing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they just wanted, because they wanted to use their minds, and which is what they did. Warner von Braun, who invented the V2 rocket for the Nazis. We don't want the Soviets to have them. We don't want the Soviets to have them. So they sort of more or less give them immunity, really. And so you've got this little gang that go after them. So you've got a little gang.
So when is this actually set? Is it set in now, in 2010?
Yeah, it's sort of 90s.
90s, like I say, because they're like they're 90-year-olds if they're hunting Nazis now.
So which is Al Pacino? Yeah. So basically, you've got this little gang that go hunting, and you've got a gang of Nazis. So you've got a little thing of Nazis, which are a gang as well. There's like this whole system where they're trying to. So
they're protecting their
identities, and they're still doing some pretty bad shit, because they're still quite racist, and they want to create the Fourth Reich.
Just like Boys from Brazil.
No. Well, a little bit. Actually, funny you should say that, because there is a bit where you've got. Anyway, so basically you've got two teams. Yeah? You've got two teams, and the team of hunters is great. So you've got obviously Al Pacino, who's the boss.
Yep.
And then you've got like. Black exploitation 70s lady with the big hair, the Foxy Brown sort of thing. And guns
is she actually an actor in the show?
Yeah, she's in the show. She's one of the team.
No. I meant, is the character in the show an actor?
No. That's the 80s actor. You're thinking of a bloke. There's a bloke, and he's obviously like an 80s actor, like Magnum.
No.
Yeah.
Just when you said blaxploitation Foxy Brown, you mean that she's dressed like that? So she's
dressed like that, yeah.
Okay,
She's got the
gotcha.
guns and all that sort of stuff, and she's pretty kick-ass, you know.
Yeah.
And then you've got the 80s Don Johnson, you know, sort of character, you know, actor. Oh, I'm an actor. I won a BAFTA, you know. Do you know what I mean? So it's very good. And then you've got like a British nun who escaped. Who's like pretty. You've got to kill a nun in the team, and you've got this young lad who starts off with who's really good at figuring stuff out, figuring out codes and stuff. And then you've got Chinese. You've got an ex-Vietnam vet who's like, you know, the weapons expert and all stuff like that. And then you've got this couple that were in Auschwitz. You've got an old couple that were in Auschwitz, which like do all the stuff and recognise and do all the collating of the evidence. And what a great team! And then on the other side, you've got the bitchy lady, you know, the top dogs, and then you've got all these other like lieutenants. You've got a couple of young ones, which are like the assassins and that, which obviously when we come to the boys from Brazil, with like, oh, you're part of it. And there's a bit of Roblin. Yeah, there's even a bit in it where he says, "Oh, this bloke, even Mengele used to be horrified at some of the things he did." So anyway,
okay.
And,
it sounds like okay. So because you were going through the team, so these are the team of the hunters, so to say, who are walking around trying to bring sort of like escaped Nazis to justice. And you're going through the whole thing, and you're essentially just mentioning sort of like archetype.
Yeah, but they're not chosen. They're different. They're like from different eras, and they also each episode you get like a 70s bit. Each episode you get, and I mean this is way up my street because it just goes totally off on tangents, and all of a sudden it's like something they go to Coney Island to look at something, and all of a sudden it'd be like Night Fever, the chocolate coming, and then the whole of the amusement parks is dancing to Night Fever and doing all the stuff.
Okay.
So
it's hilarious, and they just go on random stuff like a TV. They got TV, a black and white program, it's like the quiz thing. And what do we say about? You know what I mean? And it just goes totally random off on these things.
So when they have all these different people, are these different people actually from different decades, or do they just
not necessarily? But they're all of a, you know, there's some role with another. Like the nun's slightly older than the young one. So yeah, so you've got I mean, I'm not saying they're particularly age. I'm just saying they're of. So it's all at the same time, but they're just like, you know, just like a team really. So even though the 70s girl, I don't know, are they on there? Can you find them? Roxy Jones. Okay, so Roxy Jones is, so they're all of the time, but
why are they hunting Nazis? What draws them all together? Are they recruited like the 80s, or are they?
I mean, obviously the Nazis being sort of white supremacists, so you've got that sort of thing, and the actors. So I mean, it's all the different episodes because there's 10 episodes.
Yeah.
They're all, it sort of explains a bit, so you get the stories as they go through. Like with the nun was
how they all came together and all that.
Yeah, so you have little episodes where it goes, and it just flips from everything. It goes South America, you know, 1950, and then, you know, all goes over to Panama. It just shoots. It just goes. Yeah. It's all over the place.
So you obviously liked it, but this is.
It sounds like a lot.
Your enthusiasm.
Oh, mate, this was just.
But this is coming to quite some criticism, hasn't it, for not being accurate about Nazi hunters?
Yeah.
Do you think that's beside the point? That it's really about Nazi hunters.
It's just a great fun thing to watch.
So you don't think it's a serious section about how you hunt a Nazi?
No, I don't think it's a. Like Simon Weed's a title sort of.
Yeah.
But no, it's not that. It's not. This is. I mean, I can understand why people get upset about it because it's just. I mean,
do you think it trivialises it?
No, not at all. Okay. They're all for me. You know, some people might, but they're all like typical. You know, like they're just.
They're archetypes.
I mean, I can understand why people might get upset because, like, the Nazis are like you imagine the film. Oh, you know, one of them. They are Nazis, but they. Well, the opening scene is to do with a Nazi, but the other Nazis don't like this particular Nazi, so he has to.
Oh, he's a nasty Nazi.
But he's a Nazi. No, he's not necessarily a nasty Nazi. Well, he is. He's a horrible one, but he's like he does something, and then he calls in favours from the FBI and you've got all these people that are all. But it's all over the place. It's haphazard and it's great, and it's just
because I shied away from it thinking. I don't know if I want anything
to me, this is just.
that.
I mean, I think it's just fun.
But you think it's fun? Okay.
And I mean, even the titles. I love the titles. It's not very often you watch a whole series and you let the titles go through, do you?
Okay.
What I mean,
okay.
if you've watched it, you've seen the first one. I even watched it through the titles.
How many stars?
Titles. It's like a chess set, you know. So it's like a chess set with them all moving around and all the different characters moving around.
Okay.
So yeah.
So how many stars?
I mean, there's obviously a lot of episodes are better than others, but there are a couple of, should we say, I won't call them duds, but there's a couple of episodes that didn't quite.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? A couple of, but the majority of them were great, you know. Night Fever, I can still see that now,
Okay,
you know?
Sean, focus. Sean, back in the room.
Where would that come from? Okay, so I'll probably have to give this a 4 because, you know, there were a couple of episodes that weren't quite as good as but the first few were just, I mean, it was great. I mean, it was just like, it just went off it just went all like, it was all over the place, different countries, different here.
Well, I wasn't expecting that as a review. Were you, Toes?
Well, no, because to be honest with you, I thought that this show was going to be a lot more serious, a lot more. But from the second Sean started running through the team, I was like, okay, this sounds wacky. This sounds like they're going for a little bit different from what you would expect when you hear, oh, we're going to put a team together to hunt Nazis. Because when I heard that, I was expecting something like, you know, the Steven Spielberg movie Munich. So
Munich, that type of thing. Yeah, no, it is totally nothing like this. In fact, I would even say it's tongue in cheek.
It sounds a lot more Inglourious Bastards than it is what's the Munich. That it is Munich.
Yeah, it's a lot more subtle than Inglourious.
It's not about like that Trial of Eichmann or that sort of thing where it looks into the real history.
No, but I mean, they're like, you know, it's like the one I was saying about the Nazi that sort of tries to get away from the other Nazis and away from this team, you know, and he's like, he's all nice to people, you know what I mean? It's like, oh yes, lovely, and then as soon as they find out, he's like, just turns on them, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
To me, this is right up my street. So I'm going to give it a strong 4. But you know, I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, give it a 5, and then I thought no, because there's a couple of episodes which I might have, weren't quite as.
All right. But okay. I mean, Sean. Now let's move on to Dark Waters at Cinema.
Okay, Dark Waters.
Let's go to Dark Waters Cinema. Let's see if you can be as effusive as. Okay, from what I know about Dark Waters, I really do not expect you to be as effusive about this film as it was about Hunters, because so Dark Waters, from what I can understand, this is based on a true story of a guy who was a corporate lawyer who essentially turned on the corporate company and spent a lot of time trying to prove that the DuPont corporation in America was willfully poisoning an area because they were putting stuff into the water supply that they knew was poisonous, but they didn't care because they were making money. And it's about it's essentially seems to be like a legal proceeding thing of one guy trying to prove this and stop them from doing it. So tell us, how on earth do you make that interesting?
You don't. What can I say about this? It was just I mean, no, I don't know what to say about it really. To be honest with you, Toast. Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's basically the story. So what's happened is they discovered that.
Yeah, so I think so. We know about the story, but you're about to go into tell us what you thought about it.
Okay.
Yeah. What you thought about it on why you thought that why you have what makes you give that.
Well, it's just like it was all pretty deadpan, you know, and all like. I mean, it's based on a true story, obviously.
So it's the people who made Spotlight.
Yeah, same people. Yeah,
Spotlight
which I like.
Masterful, wasn't it?
Spotlight was absolutely brilliant. Yeah,
really well crafted film.
This was way too long. This was way too long. It just started to drag, you know. I wouldn't say it was I hated it, you know. I didn't get that antsy about it, but it did after a while. It was probably a bit like your feelings with Lighthouse. I was thinking,
oh yeah,
come on,
yeah,
come on, let's get somewhere. So I mean, and I guess it's a bit of a character study, and like obviously you get the photos at the end, which are quite interesting of the actual people, and the actual people were actually in the film as well. So the people that got Because basically, with all this going on, and it took years, it was over
I think like
years.
decades or something like that.
Decades, yeah, it went over decades, and so and DuPont basically owned a town. I guess it'd be a bit like Bourneville with Cadbury's and things like that, right? Yeah. And so they basically
housing, jobs,
everything, the jobs,
everything is dependent upon this one company.
Yeah. And so obviously there's a bit of the cold shoulder people being, why don't you go and do, so yeah. But it's really interesting. I guess it's a bit factual, but it could have been.
Do you feel a sense of outrage when you're watching it, saying, "How could you do this to your own people?"
I didn't.
You didn't know.
Not from a personal point of view. Maybe I should have done. Perhaps I'm not that sympathetic, but it's corporate business.
Yeah.
It is, So
Sean, have you seen Erin Brockovich?
I have, yes.
Was it a bit like Erin Brockovich?
No, Erin Brockovich was much better.
All right, okay.
So this I just found Mark Ruffalo, who plays a lawyer, was quite good. He's really deadpan, almost sort of to the stage of being a lot, maybe perhaps on the autistic spectrum. There was this sort of, his wife was like the normal domestic stuff.
Yeah.
When someone's so obsessed with doing something, they, obviously some of their personal relationships tend to
suffer,
to go by the by.
Yeah.
And that's Anne Hathaway.
That's Anne Hathaway. Oh. Yeah. I didn't like.
She's appearing in more and more stuff lately. I noticed she's popping up a bit more.
No, she's not.
She's appearing in something I'm about to talk about.
Yeah, Tim Robbins was good. We like Tim Robbins.
Oh yeah, Tim Robbins. Yeah, he's cool.
He's cool. But what was really, really interesting was the guy who was in the first Independence Day, who played the president. What's his name? Bill Pullman. Yeah. He was in it. He's aged. He's
got a beard, isn't he now?
He didn't in this.
Oh,
he didn't in that. But he's he's one of those. Basically, when they go to court, try some things. Yeah. He's like one of the people that's in the.
He's been in a program called The Sinner, and that's been his brought him back into the floor.
Okay. So yeah, but anyway, so he's this. So he's like this one lawyer, and he's quite funny. And so the Mark Ruffalo character is saying, "Say this, say the other." And he's going, "Yeah, I'm also what I know what I'm going to do. I know what I'm going to do." So that bit was quite entertaining, and I think Bill Pullman played a really, really good part in this.
Yeah.
I still like him from while you were sleeping, so I always have a bit of a twinkle for Bill Pullman.
Yeah.
I like Bill Pullman. I think he's good.
Yeah,
he's good.
He's sort of he's interesting in that character.
So
what else can I say about it? So I just found it a little bit too long.
Okay.
The interest was there, and at the end to see the photographs of the people and the actual people. So that was quite interesting. But,
so how many stars?
A low 3.
Oh, low 3.
Low 3, yeah. What was it chosen? Because you probably look at these things, because I never do. I don't know if you do, Sam. Do you ever look at reviews or stuff like that? I never seem to do that. I never seem to look. So do you? What were the reviews for this like, Toast? Because I know you probably.
Oh, I think they pretty much agree with you.
Do they? Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. The reviews that I've seen anyway pretty much agree with you. That it's like, it's a worthy thing, it's a worthy cause, but but they've all been saying around about 3. The thing that reminds me, there was a John Travolta movie in the 90s called A Civil Action, which the basic premise of this reminded me a lot of that film, because that was all about like a lawyer trying to go on a crusade, going from the point of, I'm just here to make money, to, oh my God, we need to stop this company killing people. And it reminded me a lot of that when I was hearing about what this film's all about. But as I said, it might be one of those things, a bit like how I spoke about Just Mercy. I said a film that needs to be made because these things keep happening and we need to figure out a way of trying to stop it. But to be honest with you, this film I expected it to be a bit sort of by the numbers, because if you have your Erin Brockovich and you have your Civil Action, I feel like you have the playbook of how to make a film like this. And we'll see if I manage to catch it, and then I can let you know what I think. But if I'm going to catch a film out of all the ones you've mentioned, it's going to be The Invisible Man. Right. So now we carry on to a final thing of the day. Final thing that we're going to be talking about today, and that is Modern Love. Once again, Amazon bringing this back in. Now, Modern Love is a TV series. It's an anthology TV series that is based on a New York Times column called Modern Love, where people write essays about the experiences of love in New York. And they've taken 8 of these essays and adapted them into sort of like half an hour long episodes. So it's pretty good. I actually quite like this because it was, I think nowadays I think of half an hour episode things as bite size. I'm not sure about you guys, but if something is like an hour or 45 minutes, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to have to pay attention.
That takes commitment.
Yeah, so that takes commitment. I'm going to have to pay attention. Why are you so long? But each one of these is only like half an hour long. And they have things like they have sort of weird titles, and I think the titles, some of them might be taken from the original essay titles. Like the first one is When Your Doorman's Your Main Man, and the second one is called When Cupid is a Pushy Journalist, and there's one called Take Me As I Am, Whoever I May Be, and each episode has different stars who show up in it, and most of them end up being like a sort of two-hander. So the first one has Christina Milioti, who people might know from Wolf of Wall Street and from How I Met Your Mother. She was the mother. And an actor who I did not recognize, who I've never heard before, but he plays her doorman, and it's this story about how she lives in this apartment in New York and he's the doorman. And it's about all these sort of like different relationships she's had over the year and how he was the only real constant in all of that. And it carries on to all these things, and they're really, really well done. They're really, really well acted, written. So some of them are a little bit sweet, but the fact is that they're based on real life things and based on real life articles that you can go and you can read. And actually, it sent me straight away. And I figured that whoever wrote this knew straight away, immediately after watching it, you go straight online and go, what happened in real life? What actually happened in real life? Did it actually happen? Did it happen? Did that guy nearly kill himself on the first date? all that. Yeah. And you end up going through and finding out what actually happened to all these people and what actually was on, or what actually, was good. So it was really good. The final episode ends in a way that, depending on how you look at it, you might either think it is the cheesiest thing in the world, or just pretty sweet, or just kind of like it. And I think it sort of belies the fact that this originally came from essays, because it's a bit like, you know, when somebody writes an essay and then has like a final paragraph to round off everything that they've just been telling you in the whole essay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sort of ends with that, but there's some really, really good episodes in there. The final one is it's about old love. It's called something about the race gets sweeter in its final lap, or something like that. And stars Jane Alexander and James Saito as a couple who find themselves when they're probably in their 60s, 70s, and how that go. And it's just really it's almost the entire episode takes the form of an eulogy, and it's just it's so well done. There's some bits in it that just make you go, oh, that is so nice. Some of them are a bit weird, a bit scary. Some of them are a bit kind of like, oh, what the heck is going on here? There's one particular episode that has a title that goes, so what if you look like my dad? It was just dinner, right?
Oh.
Yes.
It's like, no, don't want to go there.
Yes. And that particular episode, there are bits of it that are a little bit, oh no. And then you realize, hang on, wait, this is based on a true story. A lot of the stuff actually happened. So but Sharon, especially you, I think Sean might have left the room just by listening.
No. I was just listening. I was just getting the thing in. Probably that.
No, I think this is something I probably would check out.
Again,
because they're short and they're.
Yeah, they're short. I mean, I can do short.
And they're two-handers. Quite like two-handers.
Yeah. They're short. They're short, and they're short. They're sweet. Some of and I think it's one of those things.
Are the couples all the same? They're all like friends or something? Is it like a friendship group as well?
No.
Are they all
totally
know
different.
each other, or is it?
Oh.
Or is it separate stories?
It's separate stories, totally separate stories.
Right.
So each story is self-contained. Each story is self-contained. Right. It finishes off.
This isn't like Love Actually, so they don't into it.
Oh right, okay. It's just seeing people two episodes or whatever.
No. It's just one. Well, each person's in one episode. So each thing is in one episode, and I think it's one of those things where it actually fulfills its title when it says modern love. So these things are not rom-coms. These episodes are not rom-coms. They are very much kind of like, this is life in New York. Life in New York is crazy. And when you're trying to find love in New York, crazy things happen. So some of the stories are not even really about romantic love. There's one particular one that is called Rallying to Keep the Game Alive, which it stars Tina Fey and John Slattery, and it's based on the actor Dennis Leary.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's based on the true life story of Dennis Leary and his wife, and his current wife, and that it's so I think that the entire series is really, really well done, and it's one of those shows that makes you think, you know what, New York is a magical place. Maybe I should go there on holiday. So, because it's based on articles in the New York Times, every single story is set in New York. So it's really, really good. I would give it a 4 out of 5, and I would say,
oh wow,
yeah, I would say go check it out. Go check it out if you like romance, and go check it out, quite frankly, if you don't. So
yeah, I might do that.
Yeah, it's pretty good. All right, cool. So that is that, and all that's left to say is who it is that has won this week. Now, because things have been a bit uniform this week, I think it's pretty obvious who has won this week.
Yeah.
I think Amazon.
I think probably Amazon has got this one.
Amazon Prime has got this one. You are correct. Yeah, with 4s all across the board. Cinema has had a bit of a had a bit of a week with 4s all across the board. I mean, if I had to go see a film out of these films that we spoke about this week, I would go for The Invisible Man. But as I said, Sonic the Hedgehog is a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it is.
Well, there might not be. Doesn't seem to be much on next week, so maybe.
Military Wives. That's what I'm going to see.
Okay. I might end up watching that, but it's not probably what I'm gonna.
Well, Military Wives.
In first choice.
Pardon?
Military Wives is on, is it?
That should. Yeah, we're due to watch that next week. It's out.
All right, cool. Yeah,
at a cinema near me, anyway.
All right, cool. I will go do that. I will go. I think I'll go find Military Wives, because, as we all know, we're not going to be watching James Bond anytime soon. So,
no.
So yeah. All right. But anyway, all that's left to say is a goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from me. So yeah, it'd be quite good. If you can get to see Hunters, because I mean, you probably hate it, you guys, but it's not for me personally. I don't think it's meant to be taken seriously. But that's my highlight of the past. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Good stuff. Thank you very much. See you next week.